So I might get a lot of hate for this one. I think that one of the most dangerous things that can happen is when being a victim of something slowly becomes our identity. And before anyone gets angry at me, hear me out, because I absolutely do believe that people can be victims. People are victims of abuse. They're victims of neglect, of discrimination, of being victims of systems that was never designed for them in mind. It's all very real. What I'm talking about is what I see often happens next. Hi, I'm Jade. I'm a private psychotherapist. I'm also autistic and I run a place called Planet Pure, a place where I help autistic people begin to understand themselves rather than blame themselves. So one of the things that I've noticed is that blame and power rarely live in the same place. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples because I'm an example person. So take children and their attention span, for example. I do not blame children for struggling to concentrate. They did not get the same circumstances growing up that we did. Adults created the platforms designed to keep people scrolling. If grown-ass adults struggle to put their phone down, then children never had a chance, especially if they're growing up with that. But also, what is also true at the same time, is if all we do is point our fingers at the companies and say, look at what you did, what truly changes? I know some people do go about change, but really what truly changes is nothing. Because blame explains a problem, but it certainly does not solve it. The same thing happens with trauma. Somebody may have done something really horrific to you, and they might genuinely be responsible for the wound that you now carry. But if your entire life becomes about pointing at the person who caused the wound, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be called out for that. What I mean is when your whole identity becomes about pointing, and your whole identity becomes about them taking some sort of responsibility that you probably are never going to get, you never get to focus on your healing. You actually end up accidentally giving them power twice without realising it. Once when it happened, and again every day afterwards, that you don't take your personal power back to decide what you want for yourself. The same is true for autistic burnout. So many autistic people are exhausted chronically because they live in systems that was not built with them in mind. And that is not fair. And that was never and is never and will never be their fault. But staying angry at the system doesn't tell you what your capacity is. It doesn't help you build better boundaries. It doesn't help you recover. It doesn't help you create a life that works for you. It just keeps you angry. And that anger means that they hold a power over you that you do not want them to have, but they do. You can be completely right about who's responsible. You can still want change. And you can still also be the only person who can change what happens next for you. And that's not actual punishment. That's not self-punishment. In fact, that's power. I think being a victim is different to identifying as a victim. And that becoming ingrained in your identity and that accidentally becoming self-punishment for the rest of your life. The moment that you stop asking whose fault is this and you start asking yourself, what can I actually do here? Your life will begin to belong to you again. And people might hate me for saying that, but I say it because I see it. And I say it also because I want your life to belong to you again.